Watch me turn into a werewolf, and I will haunt till the break of dawn. Don't you dare to try to stop me. This is the horn of the Black Swan.
In case y'all missed the last video, this is the next box that we have to open. Check it out. It's the Heretic Studios 20-inch LED bar, and it's freaking awesome. And we got another sticker and some more mounting hardware and the wiring harness, which we may end up not really needing much of that at all. It does come with a relay though, so I don't know exactly how that's gonna work. I'm learning. Yeah, so this is the 20-inch light bar. There is a crap ton. I'm not even gonna count them. I'm gonna guess probably 20, but a crap ton of LEDs. And yeah, Heretic Studios, crazy cool. You guys have already heard my whole spiel about this if you watched my install video for the BA4 lights, but basically this whole thing is machined out of a solid block of aluminum, which is better for the whole heat transfer and all that sort of stuff to keep this bar cooler when the LEDs are putting off a crap ton of heat. So I did go with the amber. I've got amber across the entire front of the truck, and I also ended up doing a full spotlight setup on the bar. Now you can have this split to have like the center, I think, spot and the outside 8 LEDs, right, 4 on each side as the floodlight, right? So they call it a combo, spot flood combo, but I ended up going solid spot because I do have the 2 wing lights and then also my pods up top, which are both combos. So we're gonna get this guy installed in the truck just like the other ones. Super easy to get this actually placed in there. It may take a little bit of finesse just because of the location. I'm gonna end up probably taking the front end of the truck apart. I'm not gonna take the bumper off. I'm gonna try my best not to, at least. I'm hoping that's possible. I don't really know, but we're gonna find out. So I'm gonna take the grill off. You guys have seen that before, but I'll show you again. And then we're gonna get this thrown in place on the bumper. Now this shouldn't really need any like pointing or angling, right? But once it's installed, we'll fire it up and then we'll light it off and make sure it's pointed, you know, down or up or whatever, the way that we want it to be. It is 10mm bolts on the side here in order to adjust these guys. This one though, I'm not sure. And this is actually interesting hardware that they don't have just the capture bolt. That's unfortunate. That's all right, we'll make it work. Yep, and the wiring, well, it's wiring, so let's get into it. So when it comes to removing the grill, y'all have seen this a few times. You have a little pop tab right here. You got a little pop tab on the other side. You got a 10mm bolt, you got a 10mm bolt, and then you pull this way and it comes out. And the more times you do it, the easier it is to take off because, you know, plastic gets stressed. But if you have grill lights, make sure you unplug them. Make sure you plug them back in whenever you put the grill back in. And yeah. Nope. So I'm gonna try to work the light bar in through here. If you do have to take off these little side pieces right here, there's just one pop tab right there. If I put you inside here, you can see that bracket right there that the light's sitting on top of. There's this same one on the other side. That is where the light bar is gonna end up mounting onto.
Real quick, man, that's on here from the future. One thing that I wasn't like super happy about with this whole install and all that crap is that with the previous Heretic lights, the other literally 4 lights, but 2 boxes, 2 packages that I received, the bolt that they used or that they included with the package it was one of those, I forget what they're called, but they have the little square underneath the head of the bolt, right, in order to allow them to be locked into place so that you don't have to have a wrench on one side holding the bolt head and a wrench on the other side to tighten the nut. You know what I mean? So I don't know why they didn't do that with these lights, and because of that aspect, it made it incredibly difficult to install these things, and it should not have been as hard as it was. I wouldn't say it was hard, it was just tedious. You know, it took a lot of effort and a lot of like little teeny tiny movements trying to hold these things in place. So it's always easier if you have the right tools, and if you don't have the right tools, you make it work, and I made it work. So anyways, here we go.
So I did end up taking that little flat thing right there off of the side, but you can slide the light bar in just like that. So we're gonna get it all set up here. Obviously it's not at all resting on anything it's supposed to, but we're gonna get it all resting in here. So the hardware right here is gonna be a 13 millimeter. I know it's upside down, but 13 millimeter. And so I think it's going to be the easiest using just like a box wrench or an open-ended wrench, and setting it on the nut side where the edge of the bar is. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. That bottom portion right there where my finger is going to be really hard to really have anything in there. So you're going to have to slide an open-ended box wrench in there to hold that in place. And then if you have a second one, or an all 16ths, right? Then you're gonna have to have that on the bottom. I was thinking that I was gonna be able to use this 13 millimeter socket, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not gonna be able to finagle it under there. So we're gonna figure it out. But it's a little tight. It's also dark, and I don't have a lot of lights in here. So pretty self-explanatory. I'm gonna go ahead and get these like installed and show you, I guess, how it looks, and then we'll work on the wiring. Well, that was one of the most painful experiences that I've had with an install on this truck so far. Yeah, this is in a really shitty situation, or like position. I don't really know how much easier it would be if the bumper was off, because in order to like really open up the whole area, you'd have to take the bumper off and you would have to take the winch off. So, highly recommend do the 20-inch light bar before you put the winch on, and then put the bumper on. Do it all together as one unit. Obviously, that would be the smart thing. I didn't have everything at once, so I didn't do that. But it's in, and I don't even know if I'm gonna angle it upwards at all. The wiring shouldn't be too bad. I just plugged in the harness to the plug, obviously. Moment of truth. Bam! It works. So I ended up cutting out a whole big old section of the wiring again, just like I did with the other one in the last video. But long story short, you got the relay, the power running to the relay from the battery, and then the battery ground instead of hooking it up to the battery, because I'm trying to minimize the connections that I have on there. So I have this extra accessory panel that I have hooked up with a 20 amp fuse. So I've got the ground set up right there, and I've got the not ground, the positive, right, running through that 20 amp fuse through here to another 20 or 35 amp fuse. I don't remember which one it is going to that side. And then obviously that's connected to both the battery ground and the battery itself, the positive. And then over here under the 5th switch slots, I've got both wires running. I should bend that down a little bit. Both wires running that are going, that would be going to the switch if you had that little 3-prong switch plugged in. So I've got the supply and I've got the load, or sorry, the supply and the whatever the other one is hooked up to there, and then of course the ground set up right there, and that's it. So now when I press the 5th switch on the SwitchPros, it turns it on. I do have this massive length of cable here, so I'm going to bundle all that up, and then I'm going to take my grill, I'm going to get the grill reinstalled, and then we're going to end up taking this out and figuring out whether or not we need to reposition the light itself. Shouldn't have to, but we're going to see. Sweet, so that is all done. Obviously I have it closed up. I did end up cutting a decent chunk of wire out of the cable that ran from the relay to the light bar itself. It's just the 2 wires that are underneath that little black like protective cover. And then I just used the standard dual like connector. You strip each end of the wire, you put the 2 together, and then you crimp it down
then has a little bit of heat shrink on it with this. It's actually really nice because there's like a glue on the inside of the heat shrink. So as the heat shrink melts, the glue also melts, and then the heat shrink, of course, shrinks to the size of the wire, right? But that glue is going to create more of a like a watertight barrier between the heat shrink and the insulation of the wire itself to prevent water from getting into it, which is really nice. So pretty cool. Anyways, I did that. The light bar is on. It works. It's good to go. So we are going to get out and we are going to point this thing the way that we want it, and we're going to check it out in the normal environment. I don't know. We're going to go see it work in the dark. Alright, my dudes, so here is the look of the lights. So here's the center bar. It's a little bit off. It's pointing slightly left. I was expecting there to be more of a flood than there is, but that's fine. So I'm gonna have to angle that more, a little bit more forward. Heck yeah, my dudes. So I'm back on the road. I do have the lights all angled. Obviously this video is just the front bar. I don't remember. I did the 20-inch light bar and the pods on the same. I did all this installment at the same time. I'm just doing 2 different videos, but the angling and stuff is going to be in this third one. Anyways, yeah, so they're all angled. The 20-inch bar is not yet angled because I didn't have all the tools out here on the road as one does. So it's still a little bit off kilter to the left. That's fine. So I am waiting for these cars to be passed, and I will unleash the brightness, and you shall see. I'll show you just, I'm gonna kick on the high beams, and then we'll see exactly what that looks like. With the high beams on, bam! Look at all that freaking light. That's insane. I absolutely love it. So, here we go. That's crazy. So much light. I am in love with this. Like, that's normal headlights, you know, not too bad, not too bad. Bam! You know? There is so much light coming off the front of this freaking truck. It's great. And I don't even have the 40-inch bar on the top. You know, this is only the bumper spread and the ditch lights. It's just really cool. So one thing, when I was adjusting the lights, right, and I know I talked about it when in the install video for the BA4 lights, but there is a lot of heat, obviously, that gets put off from the LEDs because of I2R losses, whatever, heat from current going through fucking metal, which is why the Heretic lights are really good, because the fact that they are machined out of a solid aluminum block, meaning that all of the little molecules in the crystalline structure or whatever of the metal is all aligned in one direction, or in like the same direction, which means it's really good for heat transfer. I don't know, some material property of metals and stuff. So all of that heat that gets produced by the LEDs is very easily dissipated by the metal of the housing to prevent your lights from overheating, which is bad and causes things to melt and fall apart and break, which obviously you don't want when you spend hundreds of dollars on lights. But yeah, so pretty neat, and they're, you know, we're good. But they do produce a lot of heat. Oh my God, the housings were still getting very, very, very warm when I was adjusting them. They were burning my little fingertips. But anyways, I'm about to hit traffic, so